Hello, you're watching Breakfast with John Kay and NAGA Munchetty.
Good morning. Our main stories here just after 8:30, and David Cameron is said to be losing control of the Conservative Party over the issue of Europe. That is according to the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, Lord Geoffrey Howe.
Writing in The Observer, he warns that if a proposed referendum leads to Britain leaving the EU, the country would lose influence around the world. Lord Howe also says that the Prime Minister is running scared of his backbenchers.
The Governor of the Bank of England, Sir Mervyn King, has issued a warning about the Chancellor's plan to boost the housing market. He's told Sky News that the Help to Buy scheme, was due to run for 3 years, is too close for comfort to a general state guarantee for mortgages and shouldn't be allowed to become permanent.
In Pakistan, a senior female politician has been shot dead outside her home in the city of Karachi. Zahra Shahid Hussain was a member of the former cricket star Imran Khan's Movement for Justice party. Mr Khan blamed a rival party, the MQM, which has denied any involvement.
The government faces further attack from head teachers today as union leaders urge them to ditch the new curriculum. Yesterday,
1 in 10 of the UK's drivers has fallen asleep behind the wheel in the past year. Almost 3.5 million motorists have nodded off while driving, this according to a survey for the car insurance firm LV. It also found that men were nearly 3 times more likely to fall asleep at the wheel than women.
David Beckham has said a tearful goodbye to professional football in what's likely to have been his last game after a 22-year career.
The bookies' favourite Denmark swept to victory at last night's Eurovision Song Contest, leaving Britain's Bonnie Tyler limping in at 19th. Ireland came last.
How many times do we have to fight? How many times do we get it right between us? Only teardrops.
Well, that was the winner, 20-year-old singer Emily de Forest from Denmark. She was a clear winner as well over the other 25 finalists with her song Only Teardrops, and it means Denmark will now host the event next year.
You can't wait, can you?
Yeah.
Time to get to the sport now. We spoke about David Beckham.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's off. We're going to talk about him in a little while.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting final day of the season in the Premier League, won't it? Perhaps not as dramatic as this time last year, Aguero and all that nonsense that came after that. But and obviously relegation issues weren't resolved this time last year. That's all done and dusted, as is the title. But fourth place and Spurs and of course for Arsenal, it was the same scenario really as last year for the two North London clubs battling it out for fourth spot and well fourth because Chelsea finished fifth and other ramifications. And remember 7 years ago, Lasagna Gate, that interesting one where I think it was Tottenham had to go to West Ham and to win, and then they all claimed that they got food poisoning. Yes. These battles have gone on and on between, and it's another fascinating one between, especially these two, and a first one for Andre Villas-Boas, and what a season it's been for him. Many thought after what happened at Chelsea that he wouldn't quite have it at Tottenham. He certainly proved it.
Don't go away, because we've got to talk about it. We've got to talk about Mr Beckham. It was described as the perfect farewell when he said a tearful goodbye to football last night, or professional football. I'm sure he's going to still be playing with the kids. It was expected to be his last final match.
Yeah, he was given the captaincy of his club, Paris Saint-Germain, for the last match against Brest last night, which ended with a standing ovation as Beckham left the field. Well, let's talk about this. Joining us now is Mark Ogden, who's a football correspondent for the Daily Telegraph, and Annie Egan, who's a brand specialist. So, Mark, let's talk about Beckham with you to start with. I mean, when our grandchildren say to us in 50 years' time, David Beckham, what was he? Who was he? What will we remember about this man, do you think?
Well, I suppose it'll be split, won't it? It'll be a great footballer, a great icon, I suppose, a guy that did really well at Man United, played for Real Madrid, some of the biggest clubs in the world, captain England so many times. But then there'll also be the side which says the guy that took commercialism in football to a new level. Every time he had a haircut, it was a front-page story. Every time he had a row with his manager, it was a front-page story. He was, if he probably wasn't in the top 10 of the world's best footballers in the last 10 years, but he's certainly the most famous by a long way. He was the most recognisable face from New York to London to Tokyo. Wherever you went, David Beckham was the face that people recognised.
That was the clash, though, wasn't it? Because I remember there was a clash between Alex Ferguson and Beckham about whether or not he was more footballer and more brand. And Angie, I suppose this is where your specialism comes into it. I mean, now he absolutely has made clear football's done. I'm sure he'll still be an ambassador for the sport, or various sports, as he has been. Yeah. But it always seems when you observe Beckham from the outside that the career was going towards this point in time. What happens after the football?
I'm not sure he was quite that cynical or quite that...
or calculated. I mean,
Well,
you've got to have a
knock
plan
it.
in life, haven't you?
But his brand, or certainly his brand management, have been spot on, and I think he has. Certainly, he's lived that, and that's why it's so successful. He has all of the attributes and the recipe for success with brand success, and that is about consistency. He's incredibly authentic. I think he has massive presence off the pitch and on the pitch. But he does have all of the attributes that make for a very successful brand, and I do hope he uses that.
And he looks good in a pair of pants.
Oh, for sure.
So what would you do with him now if he came to you and said, OK, well, you know, new start, first day of post-football life, where do you take brand Beckham now?
I would hope that he uses all of the equity within that brand that he's created, and he is that brand, and uses it now to create a very powerful legacy. Because I think
for himself or for...
No, I think for generations to come, because he has demonstrated, as great brands do, that it requires commitment, determination. He's been very genuine, very authentic about what he does, incredibly focused. He knows exactly, in terms of the merchandise side, so not the football, the sporting side, you know, he has kept it very close, or his management team particularly, have kept all of the products he does compatible with one another. But I think in terms of his values as an individual, he has demonstrated that he has not just the skills and the strength, but also the determination. And he's just very genuine guy, or comes across as a very genuine guy.
I mean, there were signs, Mark, last night from the PSG fans holding up signs saying, give us one more year, David. You know, you look at him physically, he's in fantastic shape, isn't he, for 38. I mean, do you think he could have gone on? You look at Ryan Giggs, who's gone into his 40s. Could he have had it? I mean, he says he's in the greatest shape of his life as well.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely could have gone on because, like I say, he's played in the Champions League this season, Champions League quarter-finals, so he's not been winding his career down at a low level. He's been playing at the top level. And I guess it was a case of whether he goes out now on a high, having won the title in France. I think he's won 4 titles in 4 different countries now, which is a big achievement. He's got issues he wants to do off the pitch, you know. Strikes Ferguson mentioned his fashion.
We can't handle 2 big. We've had Sir Alex and now David Beckham. We can't handle 2 in 2 weeks.
Well, but we've had a lot. We've had Paul Scholes, Jamie Carragher's retiring today, Michael Owen's retiring today. You know, there's been a glut of retirements, and I think it's interesting how, you know, Michael Owen, when he was 18, was a bigger star than David Beckham by a long way. He's got that great goal at the World Cup. His image and his career has kind of gone on the slide a little bit. He's not managed himself or moulded himself like David Beckham has. But, you know, Beckham's been a master of making the most of himself, whereas Michael Owen perhaps hasn't really made the off-field image work as well.
You say he made the most of himself. Was he, or is he, one of the greatest footballers of his generation?
No, I don't think he is. I think people say about Beckham he's one of the most hard-working, one of the most dedicated. Professionalism is fantastic, you know. But you wouldn't put him up there with, you know, people like Zidane, with Messi, with Ronaldo. You just wouldn't. He's not a natural talent, but in terms of what he's made of himself, you know, he's made more of himself than any player in the last 20 years because his dedication, his professionalism.
And his marketing?
Yeah, of course, you know. But again, he made new rules for footballers. You know, when he came out of the scene in the mid-90s, marketing players wasn't as it is now, but the David Beckham rule is what everyone follows now.
And he has us all saying he's a good egg as well, doesn't he? There aren't too many people who sort of anti-David Beckham, are there?
No.
He's not going to open a pub in Essex, is he? I think we can safely say that.
To.
Yeah.
Eurovision, though, he's going for Eurovision.
Yeah, we'll want him to do Eurovision next year. So.
Yeah, there's a hope.
I'd
Mark, Angie, thanks so much. Well, thank you too.
Thank you. The time is just after 9:15. You're watching Breakfast from BBC News. The main stories this morning, and he's retiring as well, isn't he? Got Mervyn King and Fergie and Beckham, everybody. You're off in a minute. I'm not retiring, but you're off to Andrew.
Not quite yet. Can't afford to do that just yet. I'm off to read the news on Andrew Marr. You're staying here, though.
I will stay put.
First, though, Nina's going to bring us some sunshine with an update on the weather. Hi, Nina.